Hey guys, welcome back.
Today we have a little bit of a serious topic to talk about today. I said today twice. Anyway, so I learned this at a recent Big Dogs meeting. It's basically all the not upper level, I guess, but like the bigger clubs on campus, the bigger people that are involved on campus. So Dr. Hyatt and Dean Bourgeoisie basically explained that MSU, our campus, has seen an increase in sexploitation cases, or what the police calls extortion. So the sources today is an article by me, a Reflector article by me.
Source me.
So, I did all this research. I spoke with Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Regina Hyatt, like I said, Dean of Students, Thomas Bourgeoisie, and MSU Police Chief Vance Rice. So, extortion is when someone acquires money by using threats, violence, or blackmail, and it's basically the formality under which the police file sexploitation cases. So, just some little terminology. Now, what is sexploitation? If you're like me, I didn't know what this was until Wednesday night at about 5:45 p.m.
No, it kind of just sounds like it's a made-up word. I mean, all words are made up, technically.
Yeah.
But...
No, it does sound made up, but I Googled it, and it's actually in the dictionary. So,
well, there you go.
It's become a term, I guess. But sexploitation is basically when someone on a dating app or on social media asks another person for a nude photo. And then after that person has received the nude photo, they blackmail the other person into sending them money in order to keep the photo private. So pictures are exchanged. Sometimes the other person also sends pictures, but it's probably not even pictures of them. It's like random pictures they took from online and things like that. And so it's pretty common for the exploiter to not keep their word, and they'll end up sending the photo anyway, even if the person sends them money back. And so obviously that's a huge issue because like people want to be private, like people want their private lives to be private. They don't want to be shared with their families, and then all of a sudden their whole life is just changed. And the exploiter sometimes will keep asking for more and more money to keep the photo private, but I mean, they're pretty much not going to keep the photo private is what I've heard from the police chief and from Dr. Hyatt. Like, they just want money. They don't care about you.
They just kind of use it as their leverage.
Yeah. So Police Chief Rice said the sexploitation cases that he's seen mostly involve Snapchat. And so what happens on Snapchat is a student will see a friend request or an ad request from somebody random, like a John Smith. And they add them thinking, oh, it's probably somebody else that attends MSU, somebody nearby, like we might have had psychology class together or something. Well, it turns out that it's a stranger and they live super far away. Or even if they live in the United States, they are not a student at MSU. These are complete strangers that are doing this. So in this case, the student will add the stranger back on Snapchat and they'll just start talking. And then the stranger will then ask them to send nude photos. And in some cases, like I said, they'll both exchange nude photos. But generally, the stranger is not sending photos of themselves. It's pictures they took online because they can. Like, they don't know who's on the other side of the screen.
Number one, why would somebody do that to another person on the sexploiter kind of side? But number two, why would you send a nude to a stranger?
Exactly.
I'm not trying to victim blame here, but...
Well, this is what I asked Dr. Hyatt as well, and you actually got a little bit ahead of me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But no, you're good. So basically, I was like, why are people willing to, show themselves to other people? Why do they feel comfortable? So Dr. Hyatt said that since our generation mainly grew up online, we're more comfortable and more trusting of people we meet online. So it's easier for us to find connections with strangers and also feel like we are closer in touch with them, even if we've only been talking to them for a couple of days. And then also Dean B, Dr. Hyatt, and Chief Rice all kind of said that maybe due to COVID, people are feeling lonely, so they reached out more to online platforms, and we're seeing that just continue into now, even though we're kind of out of COVID, or out of at least the quarantine part, people are still very much online. And a lot of people use Snapchat, and so people might be lonely, so they go online, they talk to strangers, they just become comfortable over the course of a couple of days or maybe even a couple hours. So, I mean, there's no way to truly know why someone would feel comfortable doing that. It certainly seems, I guess, odd to you and me, but, we don't know what these people are thinking. And they're still victims anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone has their reasons, and not every situation, obviously, is the same, so...
Yeah. So, like I said, the photos will be sent, and then after the student has sent the nudes, the exploiter will then screenshot their Snapchat and start demanding money. And Police Chief Rice said that most people have lost less than $1,000 due to these schemes, But Dr. Hyatt said that she heard of a case that involved a loss of $1,500. But no matter how much money is being lost, like, it's still obviously a lot of money for college students. Like, for us just to even lose 20 or 30 bucks, that's a meal or two, or that's gas and things like that. So
honestly, that's a lot of money for anybody.
Right.
It's not just pocket change here.
Exactly. Especially if it's a couple $100 and even up to $1,000. Chief Rice said that he's seen at least one or more cases of extortion a week for the past few months. There's really been an uptick throughout the start of 2022, and there's not really any connotation of knowing if people are more comfortable now to explain this to police chiefs and like to report this, or if it's actually been an uptick all along. But I think they are also saying it might be because they have lost more money, like $200, $300. That's a lot of money. You probably want to report that. You're more likely to report a big loss rather than maybe $5 or something in the past. So that's just kind of a couple examples I've heard, but there's no one true way of knowing why this rise is right now. So, like I said, Chief Rice said that the cases he's seen, the exploiters aren't here in Starkville. They're not MSU students, they're not Starkville residents. They are random international people or people from the United States somewhere else, not here. But they pretend to be students to swindle their victims, basically. And so, sadly, since these people are not in Starkville or in MSU jurisdiction, and probably not even in this country, Chief Rice said that it's pretty much impossible for local police to do anything because they don't have enough money, a big enough budget to go after these people. And plus, if it's out of their jurisdiction, they can't really handle it. And MSUPD is also just the university police department. It's not a huge NYPD type situation. So that's really sad. And then also it's rare that federal agents can take the cases either because the amount of money lost is less than $1,000, like I said, typically. And I learned that apparently federal agents usually only take cases that involve over $1 million.
I mean, if they took on every case, I feel like nothing would ever happen.
Yeah.
So,
but it's definitely a little disheartening to see this, and if this is happening to someone, they know that I guess it's not going to be totally solved.
No, they kind of feel helpless in that situation, even if you come to the police.
Yeah.
You're not really getting a solution or anything. Especially because a lot of these people are probably using, no, there's no probably about it, they're using completely different identities, so there's no, identifying marks, even considering the name. They're not using anything that you can figure it out with.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about it, because, these people can just get away with it, which is why it's probably being done so much. And I mean, I don't know. It's really, really weird. So, some tips Dr. Hyatt offered for those who have sent nude photos and they are being asked to send money in exchange for privacy. Obviously, no judgment. I mean, we asked why people would do this, but at the same time, you're still a victim. It's not just, completely your fault or anything like that. So she said, don't send money because money won't help most of the time because the person will just send the money anyway, like I said. Make sure you screenshot all
send the picture anyway? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, don't send the money because the money won't help most of the time. The person will just send the picture anyway. Like I said, they'll just keep asking for more money, or they will just, do whatever.
Or they'll take the money and send it anyway.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And then make sure you screenshot all conversations and block that person, of course, and report it to police, and then ask for help from a friend, family member, or counselor. It's important not to just feel alone in this, and, reach out to someone and talk. Even anonymously. There are several hotlines on campus and just nationally that you can call and things like that. But the number one thing, obviously, to avoid sexploitation is just to not send nude photos to random people on the internet. But like I said, we're college students. This is what everyone that interviewed said. They're like, y'all are college students. We don't expect students to follow everything that we say to a T. We hope, certainly, that they'll follow our advice, but, we can at least provide some, alternate routes. Like I said, the tips, like Dr. Hyatt said. So make sure that you're careful with who you talk to online, because not everybody is how they seem. And I know this is a very third grade little chat. I remember when I first started going online, obviously all your teachers and your family's you don't know who you're talking to online, blah, blah, blah.
I had a talk like this from somebody from Mississippi. I honestly can't remember who it was, but somebody that was a politician came to my high school and came and spoke specifically about the dangers of Snapchat and the disappearing aspect, how things don't really ever go away.
Yeah, and that's something else that Chief Rice said. He was even though Snapchat claims to be disappearing, who's to say someone doesn't have a huge backup file of all the Snapchats we've ever sent and received?
I know, it's a little terrifying. If you think about it. Tech in general is terrifying.
Yeah.
The progression of tech is only going to get progressively more terrifying. So.
Yeah, and especially hearing about stuff like this happening on our campus And it's with our peers, people we might know, and it's just scary. You don't know what tech is confusing. No one really knows all about it. So, yeah, be careful with who you talk to online. Have awkward dating conversations with friends. If someone's meeting up with a Tinder date, maybe suggest they go in public or, go on a group date with them, things like that. Just general dating, safety, things like that can tie into the same topic. Just be safe. Look out for each other. Take care of each other. Tell your friends where you're going. Just be smart. And that's really all I have today for our main topic. Just be aware this is happening. It's really something that the administrators wanted us to talk about. Well, not me and Emma specifically, but they wanted the big dogs people. They wanted us to just spread the word as much as possible. So please share the word. Please, look out and use these tips.
Yeah, and if you want to read the actual physical version of this, you can obviously check out Heather's article on the Reflector website.
Yep. Shout out to myself.
So this week we actually didn't have the ones that got away, or any story updates.
Yeah, we recorded the last 2 episodes pretty much back to back, so there's not much going on.
Yeah, honestly, nothing really progressed, but obviously we'll keep you updated if anything else does happen. Mm-hmm. So, we're gonna move to Emma's Opinion Corner. Yay! So, on a completely different note, and not so somber kind of thing, I decided to make mine a little bit more lighthearted this week. So, nice. Hot take. Star Crunches, or the Little Debbie snacks, are underrated. We did this little tier list ranking thing in the Reflector group kind of chat thing. So I'm going to link that tier thing below if any of y'all want to send us your rankings. But I just think they're severely underrated. Most people always talk about the cosmic brownies, and I also like the oatmeal cream pies. Heather does not like them.
No, I don't.
And Nutty
Buddies?
Yes, Nutty Buddies are also pretty up there on my tier list. But I think that it's just very good, and it doesn't get the hype it deserves. They're yummy.
I don't think I've ever had a Star Crunch, really.
I used to eat them all the time growing up.
Is it like a chocolate Rice Krispie treat?
It's similar to that, but it also has kind of caramel in it. Oh. But it's very good. I used to be addicted to them as a kid. But cosmic brownies honestly are hot take. They suck.
I like them.
They really just don't have much flavor, and the consistency of it's weird.
I like them. I think they're good. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like oatmeal cream pies. I really thought that nobody liked them until last week. Everybody put them on their top tier list, and I was like, "Are y'all grandparents, 85 years old, eating these oatmeal cream pies?
They're delicious.
They're not good at all."
If anybody wants to see my tier ranking, I'll send it to you. But yeah, that's all my hot take is this week. I just thought they deserve some recognition for their goodness. Also, have you checked out the thing that Little Debbie released, the ice creams that are the different flavors? Did you see that? Walmart, it's going through Walmart.
Is it new?
Mm-hmm. It was within this past month they released Little Debbie ice cream, so it's like that version of those kind of snacks, but it's in ice cream. I don't remember all the different flavors they had, but I still haven't been able to find it at Walmart.
I'm not surprised.
Because everybody's been taking them, so I'm like, okay. But
there you go.
I want to try one, and I'll give you an update if I try one.
Did they do a lot of flavors?
They did a decent amount. I don't remember quite how many, maybe 4 or 5. But they were gone when I tried to get them.
Rip.
Both times I've looked, but I'll keep you updated.
Taste test.
For my film review, I actually watched this today.
We were last minute today.
We were a little last minute, but it's all right. I still did my
We're a little bit last minute now, Lassie.
We're a little bit last minute, but it's all right. Oh my god, speaking of accents, this movie actually did not have that great of accents. Apparently the movie's Big Fish, and from 2003, and it's set in Alabama, so of course they have southern accents, and it's in the 1940s whenever it's set. I think it was 1944, but let me double check. Yes, 1944. That's when most of the story takes place. We have another story within a story.
Okay.
Kind of thing. So similar to how Fried Green Tomatoes was, it's that type of storytelling. They go to the present, which is 2003 is when it's set. Okay. And then they go back to show the father's life in real time as it progresses.
Okay, cool. But some bad accents?
Yeah, so It starred Ewan McGregor. He is obviously not even American. He just did an accent, and then Helena Bonham Carter, I don't think she's American either.
No, she's British.
They both were doing, like, Southern accents, and it's always funny when you have British people trying to do Southern accents. It wasn't terrible. I've definitely heard worse. But you're like, wow, you're really not from the South, are you?
Yeah.
It was that real old Southern one where they're like this. And it's like, guys,
I mean, maybe that was appropriate for the 1940s.
I guess.
Or, I don't even know if people talked like that. Like,
I don't either. I just feel like sometimes it was just what people made up.
My little bloomers, I do believe.
Oh, my God.
I'm from Savannah, Georgia.
Anyway, so I thought I'd just mention that. I wasn't going to mention it, but then I just thought about that.
But then we got to chatting.
Okay, so what is this movie even about? Obviously, there's Southern accents. So
I would have thought it was about a fish, but apparently
there is a fish. Okay. But it's actually not, like, the main deal here. So, the plot is, when Edward Bloom, which is the main character, played by Albert Finney, becomes ill, his son, William, played by Billy Crudup, travels to be with him. William has a strained relationship with Edward because his father has always told exaggerated stories about his life, and William thinks he's never really told the truth. Even on his deathbed, Edward recounts fantastical anecdotes. When William, who is a journalist, how topical, starts to investigate his father's tales, he begins to understand the man and his penchant for storytelling. So it kind of just revolves around what is really truth and what's not.
Oh, this is cool. This is kind of like that book that we read, that one that you lent me, where she was investigating her dad's life.
Gosh, what was the name of that one?
In the dark room.
Yes.
That sounds similar to this.
It was very similar to that, actually. I didn't even make that connection. Good job, Heather.
Thank you. See, I took notes.
Yeah. So, it's actually based on a novel from 1998, which was written by Daniel Wallace, and then it was adapted into film and directed by Tim Burton, actually. If you don't know who that is, which I don't know how you couldn't, but he's the ones that directed Nightmare Before Christmas, Corpse Bride, Edward Scissorhands, Sweeney Todd, and Beetlejuice, just to name a few. He's also just kind of known for his kind of eclectic style of how he makes things. It's a little bit outlandish and just weird in general. So this one was definitely weird, but it was in a good way. It kind of needed to be, because this is kind of about tall tales and stories and stuff. So if it wasn't, then it would be kind of boring, wouldn't it? So, it was shot in Alabama, as I mentioned, on location.
Oh, good.
They did some filming in Paris for 1 week. I don't know what exactly location that was for. They didn't specify. But it was mostly in Wetumpka.
Because what in Paris looks like Alabama?
I don't really know. I don't remember which part it could have possibly been.
That's weird.
But yeah, it was mostly shot in Wetumpka and Montgomery. And then scenes for the town of Spectre, which is almost kind of like a utopia type looking place. It was filmed on a custom set that they built, which is natural because you kind of want that to be perfect. And it was located on Jackson Lake Island between Montgomery and Millbrook, Alabama. And so, as I mentioned, it has Ewan McGregor and a couple other people. It also starred Jessica Lange. It starred Marion Cotillard, Steve Buscemi, and Danny DeVito. So, all of these fun people were in it. It was just very entertaining. As I mentioned, it's a story within a story. The B plot, as Heather mentioned last time, said she got mad at me for not saying that. And it's just a movie about storytelling. One is through kind of oral storytelling, which is the father, and then others through written, and just kind of wanting to find the truth, and that's the son. So it's just kind of a clash between that and what is reality. And like, just what's the harm in sometimes having a little fiction? Not everything is great. It's okay to have some things, because reality's not always better. Sometimes it's okay to have that. What's the harm? And then the answers that you find aren't always really truth. So,
I love that you always get a moral out of the story. Every single week, you're just like, this is why this is important. I'm like, wow, you're such a deep thinker about these movies.
You gotta think about it a little bit. I mean, that's kind of the point.
I'm like, oh, movie.
That's this whole thing. It's just kind of how he was larger than life, and all this stuff kind of went with him. So, to kind of echo what I'm saying, we have director Tim Burton. He did a quote about what's real. He says, Big Fish is about what's real, what's fantastic, what's true and what's not true, what's particularly true, and how, in the end, it's all true. And then I linked a New York Times article, that's what it was from, kind of more about him just delving into Big Fish and everything that it was about. So, if you're looking for something entertaining, this was on Netflix. I've had it on my list forever and just hadn't gotten around to watching it. It looked like something that would be up my alley because I always kind of like things that are a little weird, and also it was a positive that it was set in the South. I tend to like those type of things too, so some of my favorite movies like Fried Green Tomatoes, The Secret Life of Bees, they're all like set in the South and end up having moral kind of things to it, which that's kind of just Southern Gothic kind of literature, that type of thing, so it's not surprising. But yeah, that was my movie for this week.
Yay, movie review.
Yay, maybe Heather will watch it.
It sounds interesting. All right, moving into the crazy story of the week.
Crazy.
So we have another Northeast Mississippi story. So in Golden, Mississippi, which is near Oxford, I think, a doctor was charged for tax evasion. What's the deal with our crazy stories involving doctors?
I don't know. I'm not really sure.
Little concerning. So this is by Eric Lampton for WCBI. We'll have that link down below. So Dr. Kevin Crandall worked as an emergency room doctor in Golden, Mississippi, and he made $30,000 to $40,000 a month.
Excuse me?
Right. But he stopped paying his income taxes in 2007, and he accrued $900,000 of tax debt, interest, and penalties between 2006 and 2012. So he's really in debt. And then in 2014, Crandall, quote, submitted fraudulent forms when he tried to negotiate a payment plan for his overdue tax bill. So he just keeps doing bad stuff. He submitted a couple of reports, I think in 2012, just saying similar stuff, just, fraudulent forms, things like that. Basically, he was just recommitting fraud over and over and over again.
Lovely.
And then he claimed that he couldn't pay off his debt because he didn't make as much money as his debt was worth. So his debt was $900,000 a year, and he was saying that basically in a whole year he couldn't make enough money to pay off his debt. So it was just, whatever, he doesn't have to pay his debt.
Has this man met literally anybody ever? Pretty much everybody has a debt that's bigger than,
right?
Like, for the most part.
I was like, sir, you're getting paid more than most people.
Like, you're not special.
You're not special. Like, okay.
Sir.
He was just recently charged, and he'll be sentenced to prison on June 7th, and he could potentially face up to 5 years in prison.
I guess. White-collar crime.
Yep.
You gotta love it.
So, there's that. Not too bad of a crazy story. Obviously it's
not
money,
too bad of a note to end on. Hey,
yeah.
It could have been worse.
Could have been much worse.
On that note, that's all, folks, for this week. We have a little bit shorter one for you after that kind of a little bit of a long boy previously.
Yes, just a little taste of On the Scene this week.
Yeah, just a little taste.
A little taste. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. We'd love to see some feedback from you guys, and it helps us out as well. So please feel free to do that if you'd like.
Yeah, you can also follow us on social media at On The Scene Pod on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
You can also email us any questions, comments, hot takes, or if you want to be a guest or a sponsor at onthescenepod@gmail.com.
And she had to think about that one. And you can also just share us to your stories if you're listening. Remember, you can feel free to DM us if you want to tell us your ranking tier for Little Debbie Snacks.
Yes, make sure to do that. Please send us that.
I am intrigued.
We should post screenshots on Instagram of our tier rankings.
We should.
We'll do that.
Stay tuned for that. So, are we a part of the Reflector or something?
Maybe just a little bit. Make sure you check out the Reflector, the student newspaper of MSU. Obviously, we are two Reflector editors, and the website is reflector-online.com. And you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Reflector Online.
Yeah, and that's all for this week, guys.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye!